Okay, so today we're going deep on English pronouns. Right. You sent over this chapter, and wow, there's a lot to unpack. We're going to tackle personal pronouns, possessive pronouns, all that good stuff. Reflexive, demonstrative, interrogative, relative pronouns.
It's a big family.
Yeah. I think we all use them, but I'm not sure everyone knows like all the nitty-gritty, which can really trip you up when you're writing, emails, articles, just talking to people.
Yeah.
And plus, I think there's some pretty interesting things like how we use pronouns, not just for people, but like for pets or even for ships and stuff.
Right, exactly. It shows how language reflects those relationships we form.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. Personal pronouns. Seems like a good place to start.
Sure. So personal pronouns, basically they tell us who's doing the action, who's receiving the action, or just who we're talking about.
Like he threw the ball hit her.
Yeah.
They are happy, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And to get into the nitty-gritty a little, you have subject pronouns like I, we, you, he, she, it, they, which are the ones doing the action, the subjects of the verb. And then there are object pronouns, the ones receiving the action. Me, us, you, him, her, them.
So it's like I play football, but she tells me everything.
Perfect examples. And of course, there's the unique I, always capitalized. And you, interestingly, is the same whether you're talking to one person or a whole bunch.
Right. Now, this is what I think is kind of cool. We even use he and she for our pets, right? He's a good boy, talking about your dog.
Yeah.
Or she's such a fluffy cat.
Absolutely. And there's a historical thing with she for certain inanimate objects, too, especially ships. It's like we give them a personality.
That's fascinating. What about it? That one seems a little trickier sometimes.
It has a few roles. You use it for an unknown individual, like, who is there? It is a milkman. It can also really emphasize the subject. It is my brother who told me. And then there's its use for weather, time, distance. It is a hot day.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've covered those. Let's move on to possessive pronouns. I think those can be a bit of a minefield, right?
They can be. Now, it's important to distinguish between possessive determiners and possessive pronouns. The determiner...
My, your, his, her, its, our, their.
Exactly. They always come before a noun, like, this is my house. But possessive pronouns, mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, theirs, stand alone. So it's this house is mine.
Oh, and I remember from school, after of, you always use the pronoun, right? It's a friend of mine, never a friend of mine.
Precisely. It's a common error, but the possessive pronoun completes that phrase correctly. Speaking of referring back to oneself, we have reflexive pronouns.
Okay, yeah, those are the ones that end in self or selves.
Yes, myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. They're used when the subject and object are the same. So she hurt herself or he is talking to himself.
Makes perfect sense. Now, let's move on to demonstrative pronouns. Those are kind of fun, this and
Cool.
that,
Yeah.
and they're plural forms, right?
Exactly. They point to things. This and these are for things near us, like this is a table, that and those are for things further away. Those are my friends over there. So it's all about proximity and number.
Okay, I got it. Near versus far, singular versus plural. And then there are relative pronouns. I always have to think a little harder about these.
They link clauses together and refer back to a noun. The trickiest part is probably remembering when to use who versus whom. Who is for the subject of a verb, like the man who told me. Whom is for the object, although nowadays people often just use who in most cases.
So the man whom I saw or the man who I saw are both okay.
Exactly. And then we have which for things, as in the car which I bought, and don't forget that, which can often be used in place of who, whom, or which, except after a proper noun. So the man that told me or the car that I bought are both perfectly good.
Oh, that's good to know. Are there any common mistakes people make with relative pronouns?
One common error is repeating the pronoun as the object. So instead of saying, the man that I can trust him, you should simply say, the man that I can trust. Another thing is that if the relative pronoun is the object, you can sometimes just leave it out. The doctor I met yesterday is perfectly grammatical.
Okay, wow. So we've covered personal pronouns, possessive pronouns, reflexive pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, and relative pronouns.
It's a lot to remember, but it's all about using the right pronoun for the right situation.
Yeah, it all comes down to clarity. And the right pronoun can make all the difference in how you come across. I mean, think about it. When you're writing or even just talking, try paying attention to how those tiny pronouns shape not only the meaning, but the tone of what you're saying.
It's amazing how much impact those small words can have.
It really is. And that's it for our deep dive on pronouns.
Until next time.
See you then.